Verbs, personal pronouns. What are personal pronouns and what's their relationship to verbs? Personal pronouns are a special group of words that we use with verbs to tell us something about the person who is performing the action. They tell us roughly who that person is. They tell us whether they are male or female. They tell us how many people are performing the action. They can also represent things, ideas, places, and activities, as well as people. They allow us to give just enough information about the person or thing performing the action of the verb without giving too much. They're kind of like placeholders instead of giving the name or detailed information. Let's have a look at what life would be like and how we would communicate if we didn't have personal pronouns or we weren't allowed to use them anymore. So we can no longer use the words I, you, he, she, it, one, we, or they. If I want to make a simple sentence such as I like chocolate, how do I do it? Well, maybe I use my first name. Chris likes chocolate. Okay, what if the person I'm talking to doesn't know my name? Wouldn't that be a bit confusing? How would they know who Chris is? What about groups when we want to say we or they do something? What about for a sentence like we like chocolate? Do we tell them exactly how many people so that they're clear that it's a group? Is that useful information? Or do we give them the names of everybody in the group? David, John, Amy, Neil, and Val like chocolate. Well, they may not necessarily be interested in that information, and as the group begins to grow, or if we start to look at larger groups, that becomes completely impractical. There may be groups where we can't estimate very quickly the number of people. All we need to know is that it's more than one person. On the left-hand side is a list of the French pronouns. I'll sound them out so that you know how they sound, and we'll discuss each one as we go through. Je is I, and is used in almost exactly the same way as we use I in English. Tu is you, but only if you're speaking to one person. Il is he or it. Elle is she or it. They don't have a gender-neutral word for it in French because all people, things, ideas, places, and activities have a name that has a gender. And so instead of having a gender-neutral word like it, they just use il or elle to refer to it, depending on whether it's masculine or feminine. On is one. We would use that in English. One does, doesn't one? Though in English we don't use that quite so much anymore, but we still understand it very well. In French it's used an awful lot, and it's not so formal as in English. Nous means we, and is used just in the same way that we use we. Vous is again you, but this time when we are speaking to more than one person. Il is they, but only if we're speaking to a masculine group. A masculine group may be, for example, a group of men, let's say 10 men. We would refer to them as ils instead of saying they. If the group had 9 women but only 1 man, and therefore was a mixed group but had a male element, it would still be masculine, and therefore we would still use il. If we had a group of 10 women, we would refer to them as elle. Any group that is completely female is feminine and therefore we use elle instead of they. Those are your French personal pronouns. I hope it's clear. Any questions, please leave a comment. La fin. Bon courage.